My name is Sade Cole, and I am a sculptor. I have lived and worked in the US, in Nigeria, and I have had very diverse careers, spanning from being an artist being a fashion stylist in Nigeria for celebrities, and then moving here, getting into tech, going into venture capital. And now I decided, you know what? I want to sell my company and I want to follow my passion, which is art. I decided to start my own sculpture firm. It's named eponymously, so it's called Sade Cole Art. And I'm so sorry. I can hear my entire family in the background. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I apologize about that. But yeah, so my
Wouldn't be a Nigerian house if it wasn't. Still smack there.
right. I apologize. So I started my own sculpting firm, which is Sade Cole Art, and it's been going on for 3 years now. And of course, when it started, I didn't expect it to be what it has become. But I very quickly gained recognition in the art world, and it wasn't as I didn't expect it. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Diversified Game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, and it will be on the 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐽𝐻 platform. You can download it on your Google Play Store. Apple is still waiting for that approval, but God willing, we'll get it real shortly, maybe even today. But you guys, you heard it. You heard who I have. But let me tell you the story on how I found this space, how I found this talent. And when she told me while we're staying at her place, which when you're in Oakland, California, and you want a beautiful art loft, I hope this is available to you because you're going to see like the plants behind me. You're going to see the rooftop terrace. You're going to see the art that I'm showing you probably now. Thank you for the editors, AI and human. But Sade Cole Art. Check out the website, check out her art. And I want to get into how a young person like this, because if I take off this hat, you guys start seeing the hairline, right? I I want to know how like she found a way to do all that she did. So, Miss Cole, welcome to the show. How for you now?
I'm sorry. How old?
I said how no, I said how for you. That was my pigeon with an American accent.
I did. I'm feeling great. Thank you for having me. I feel wonderful.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna jump into because there's I haven't seen a lot of interviews or catching an interview with you, but how do you go from Nigeria all the way to America and get into so much? We know the Nigerian hustle is real, but can you give like for that 14-year-old or even that 44-year-old who is trying to follow those footsteps to get into tech or to become an artist? How did you make it happen? Was it where you went to school? Is your father, the king of cement and concrete in Nigeria? Give us the game on how did we get here?
I really wish. So like I said, I started in Nigeria, and because of how I started, I was in the fashion industry. I was working some really big jobs. I was doing like lead stylist for African Fashion Week. I was doing Project Fame, which is kind of like Idol. So I was earning at a very high level before I left Nigeria. So of course, when I came here because of my family. I used to be married, and my ex and I split up. And I was like, how do I moved here to this country where I know nobody. How do I keep earning on that level and not have to start with entry level jobs? So I looked around and I just tried to figure out what the highest paying job is. And lo and behold, it was Google at the time. So I was like, what do I have to do to get into Google? So I called people up who worked at Google, which I had a great network because of the kind of job I had prior to moving here. And they were like, do this, do this, do that. And if you can get that done, we'll give you a referral. I was like, wonderful. So I got that done in 3 months, replied, and I got into Google. And I was there for a while until it no longer felt good in my spirit. And then once that ended, I was like, the next thing I did was Google again. What's the fastest way to become a millionaire in the US? And guess what? It was sales. So I got into sales and I really succeeded at sales. I just listened to what people had to teach me. and I just worked my butt off. And next thing I know, I'm a director in the company. So I worked there for about 5-6 years. And then while I was working there, I started meeting people. They were talking about investing in tech companies because I lived in the Bay Area. And I was like, ooh, what do you mean you invest in tech companies? So they told me about it. And it just was a very interesting thing. So I Googled again. I'm very good at Googling. I think all the information you need to be anything is out there. You just have to like look for it. So I just looked at it. It was called venture capital. And I was like, how do you become a venture capital manager, like someone who manages fund for wealthy people? And so, of course, I found the best accelerator in the world is there in San Francisco. It's called Venture University. I reached out to them and I said, hey, I want to learn to be a venture like fund manager. What would it take? So they were like, well, pay us $40,000. We'll teach you how to do it. And so I hit them back and said, listen, I would love to pay you $40,000. However, based on my data, there's less than 1% of Black women in the field. And if you guys want to change the world, it looks like, changing the people who have a seat at the table. At the time, I'd realized that what the world experiences is based on the data that is available to them, like what services is available to you, and what determines what service is available to you is what services are being invested in. So it means there's a group of people who is determining what the experience of the world is, which are investors. So I was like, if you guys want the Black perspective, you have to give Black people a seat at the table. I don't have $40,000, but what I do have is my unique experience, which is, my background and all that. I can give you guys $10,000 and my experience. They said, great, you're welcome. So I got into this program. I was in there for a year. They taught me everything they know. And I started a venture fund. I raised $5 million and I used that $5 million to invest in female-led companies, women who are building for Africa, women who had insane tech companies, like things that you had never heard of that Black women were building is what we put that money into. And a lot of those companies are doing well. And then after the 5 million was done, as if you cannot tell already, if I'm no longer happy in a space, I'm ready to move on. I'm not emotionally invested in anything that doesn't bring me happiness. So once we finished, sending the money out, I'm like, I did my part, but I'm exhausted. Raising money is a very, very hard business, and investing it is even harder. So I decided what would bring me the most joy in this moment, and what I felt would bring me the most joy is returning to my spirit. I'm an artist at heart. I love to spend time in the studio. I love to just pour out my emotions, my feelings, whatever I'm experiencing. I love to experience it through the lens of art. But of course, working that hard in tech and venture capital did not leave me with enough time to sit in the studio for 8 hours a day. So I quit my fund and I was like, here is my shares. I'm going to sell it. And well, not my shares, but my part of the business. And I'm going to go do art full time. Now, in that time, though, I didn't it wasn't a flimsy decision. It was a decision that I knew was going to come. So I saved a lot of money up for it. And I gave myself, a couple years of living expenses where art is not immediately, it's not something that you can just immediately get into and just start making money right away unless you had a solid business structure. So in order to build a solid business structure, you still got to eat, you still got to pay your rent, you still have to do all that. So what I did was, in the time when I was doing all that work, I had in the back of my mind that I was going to go into art eventually. So what I did was I saved a lot of my money and I went into art without ever having to worry about how am I going to pay my rent this month? How am I going to, feed my kids? All of that stuff. I gave myself 3 years of living expenses and it worked out in a way that I didn't expect. Because I was able to really, really focus on getting it set up, I very quickly was able to get the exhibitions, shows, museums, galleries, and my name got out there very quickly. And I guess that up to today, that's where we are now.
You've tried it your way, but you're still in debt. Or maybe you're doing okay but want to invest smarter, grow faster. 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐽 gives you real step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming and start planning. Visit 𝐬𝐿𝐴I today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
Now, with, I love the game that you gave them and you pushed it back and said, look, I don't have 40, I'll give you 10. That's the African hustle, especially in Nigeria. That's why, the super ego hustle. I'm not gonna take no for I'm not gonna take no for an answer, but I actually bring value. But venture capital, and I'm part of a venture fund in Florida. I'm a very small member. But it's always like, your network, who your network is. Did you have a problem finding, a network? It sounds like you just, once they gave you the keys and let you in the door, you knocked it out. What do you think was the key to that? Was it what you did in Nigeria and not being intimidated and being able to be at those big round tables and know how to talk to high level people?
Yes, I do think that, if we're being, how honest can we get here? Can we get really, really honest?
Yes, we're giving the game. We're giving the game for those. Most people are listeners, but they want to go to YouTube or wherever else to go peep this. But yes, all honesty is all we do here.
Okay. Well, I would be honest and say that I do not have a background of a lot of no's in my life. I have, maybe it's been Nigerian, maybe it's been coming from the family I came from, which my family is not rich by any means. I feel like I have to say that. But I came from a very long line of extremely confident and passionate people. So I cannot imagine a world in which anything in the world is close to me. Unless I don't want it, then if I want it, it's not close to me. So when I realized that venture capital was about raising money, I live in the Bay Area. Most of the world's wealth is in the Bay Area. And I worked with people who were earning so much money. In order to be in venture capital, like an accredited investor, it's not that much you have to make. You have to make like 200,000 a year. And
250.
of course,
250.
250. Yeah. I'm like, how much is it? Yeah. So it's not a lot of money. So in the Bay Area, a lot of people make that. I worked with so many people who made that. I made that. A lot of my friends made that working in tech. So, or working in sales, working in like just even customer service in tech companies, you can make that very easily. So for me, I was surrounded by abundance and I was not afraid to say, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is so cool. You have to be a part of it. And here's why. I also believe that you have to spend money to make money. So I created environments that people who spend that kind of money want to be in. I had a lot of events that were very top notch, that there was nothing like that in the Bay Area. So these people came to me. And when you come to me, and if I have something I know you want, obviously, if you're wealthy, you want to expand your wealth. If you are, if you are trying to be in a certain network, you want to be surrounded by people who are, also have access to that. So what I did was I created access. I gave value. I gave community of very like-minded people to the kind of people I was looking for. And I also invested my time, my money, and my energy into creating the kind of spaces they want to be in. And so these people came to me. And when they came to me, from there, it was like, it's a matter of just placing yourself in a position where it is understood that not only can you deliver, you also really know what you're talking about, which I did because I like I said, I did the venture fund accelerator. So I knew I wasn't just trying to figure it out. I knew from Ivy League, like the same things they taught them in Harvard and Yale, I was learning. So I knew exactly how to invest the money properly, and I knew how to select winners. The person that trained me was an investor in Venmo, PayPal, Uber, was an investor in Facebook. So I was trained by people who had won and who had made it big doing what I wanted to do. So it was not a problem to explain that, hey, I know what I'm doing, and here's an example of the stuff I was doing. I think it also helped that at the time I had done a lot of syndicate deals, which are not like venture capital deals. They're like one-off deals. You know, I wasn't putting money into a fund. I was just like saying, hey, this is a company I really like. I want to give this company 150,000. I only have 25,000. So I'm calling my friends up saying, hey, there's this deal I want to do. Here's what I want to put into the company. Come in it with me. So I had a track record of these kind of deals that I had just done out of, you know, before I started my fund, that were already climbing up. These companies were already doing well. So I had a very decent track record. So I guess to answer your question, it was I created an environment that the people that I was looking for wanted to be in. And once they were in those environments, I was not afraid to say, hey, this is what I have to offer, and here's how you can benefit from it. And I also had a good track record of what I was talking about as well.
Are you a successful entrepreneur or one in training? You've got the vision, but do you have the right partner to build your brand, your team, and your future online and off? At CPRfirm.com, we offer expert consulting, financial guidance, and life coaching because we believe in doing life with our clients. After all, what is it for a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Founded by 𝐾𝐿en, we help our clients not only succeed, but plan to retire rich. Your business deserves the best. Start building your legacy today at CPRfirm.com.
I love it. And let me correct myself. You are correct on the 200,000. I'm thinking couples. I can remember at a time I was told it was 250, but it's 300,000. I'm reading it right now. 300,000 for couples. If for couples, but 200, you know, are because I want to give correct information for those of you, because I never knew I was an accredited investor. It took a friend from Korea. And she was like, but you know, I can tell you this because you're an accredited. I said, huh? I remember this is many moons ago. And I'm like, huh? Yeah. But also if you have a net worth of $1 million or more. So some of you might sit there and you can get the deals first, you know, and there's certain things certain people can't tell you. If you're not, you won't be invited to the table. And you know, when you say it's not that much, somebody will say, man, my 30, 40,000, that's a whole bunch to me. But you have to try to figure out, not everyone's going to be a high earner, and it doesn't make you less of a person, because some people can't handle that type of money. You have to be able to handle let me ask you this. How many of your family members are friends or people who know you, whether they are in the Bay Area or even in Nigeria and around the world, when they have a problem, Wahala, palava, they come to you and say, can you just help me? I swore, please, somebody died.
Everybody and their mom.
She's not joking. And their mama's coming. Just something small. I'm also a dual citizen. Yeah. I'm a dual citizen of Sierra Leone. And I tell people, hey, when you get that Sierra Leone citizenship, you inherit families and people got to go to school, I believe. So just be ready to have your school fees ready. But you can't help everyone. And the poor you'll have with you always. So when we're talking about money and you're getting money and you're young and you have children, how do you say no? How do you manage? Where did you learn how to manage that money? Was it the accelerator program, or did you read a bunch of books? You got an MBA I don't know about? Give us the game.
Well, I do not. I have my bachelor's, and everything else I know is based off of just me seeking the knowledge out. Obviously, I moved here. Well, not obvious. I don't know if that's obvious. I moved here from Nigeria just 9 years ago. And when you move to an entirely new system where everything is new, you don't even know what the pharmacy is. You don't know who the people are. You don't know the financial systems are different. The cultural differences exist. You have to learn quick. Now, my people, Nigerians always say, Nigeria know to carry last. If you're Nigerian, you're going to thrive. You're not just going to survive. You have to be willing to put in the work, and you would learn and you will thrive. So for me, the only thing to do was learn the financial systems, learn the culture, learn what's a faux pas around money and what's not, and learn how to make money very quickly. And I always say I love being born in this generation. I really do, because everything is at your fingertips. All I had to do to get into sales was Google, what's the quickest way to be a millionaire in the US? And it said sales. So I started looking for the highest paying sales jobs. And I was willing to start at the bottom with sales because I realized you can move up very quickly if you make a lot of sales. I can talk to anyone, of course, no problem. I'm going to make it in sales. Teach me what I got to do. So what I did to answer your question was just really, really be willing to learn. And I just learned online. Most of my learning was online. How do I say no to people is very easy. I know what I have, and I also know where I need to go. So just because I see the money in my account doesn't mean that it's not money that I need to give myself a couple years to live rent free. It doesn't mean it's not money that I need to invest in a company that might in 10 years, become my retirement plan. It doesn't mean that, just because it's there doesn't mean it's available. I don't always see money in my account as like liquid. I see it as the potential of what the money is going to be. So if I tell someone, no, I don't have it, it's because I really don't have it. It might be in my account, but it's for something. And my money always has a plan. It's a tool, I don't see money as well as, and not as well as like I see it as a tool. It's like a comb or like a hairbrush. It's to serve a purpose. So if my money needs to be busy, it's not available because it has a purpose. It has a plan. So now, of course, there's always stuff available if it is. And if it is, I have no problem helping who needs to be helped. I have 3 siblings right now who I'm putting through college. Of course, I have my own 3 kids, but if I have it, then it's going to go there. But if I don't, like one of those siblings called me and said, hey, I need to upgrade my laptop. I was like, no, you don't. No, you do not. If your laptop is working, you better keep using it till the wheels fall off, So I'm not frivolous with my money. I'm very comfortable helping where it makes sense to help. But if my money has a plan and a purpose, which I see it as that, then it's not available. So it's very easy to say no if I don't have it.
I love it. And you guys, when you go to her website, you go to her social and you see her and you say, 3 kids, the stork must have brought these children because this small person right here. But that's, maybe she'll write that in her book. Or what I'd love her to do is bring her more attention and love to her YouTube, even if you could watch her in her works. Because when you're sculpting and I see you making stuff, like to show like, not even just the master course, but to show people that you could do this now. There's a place in your neighborhood, especially here in America, that can show you how to get your art, whether it's photography, sculpting, whatever, pottery, painting, and you decided to take it to the highest level. How did you get into sculpting? Why sculpting? Is it something that you have to have a lot of money to start with the products that you have to buy? Give us the game, because somebody wants to, learn.
Yeah, with sculpting, for me, that was just a natural progression. My undergrad, my bachelor's was in creative arts. So I'm actually like trained to be a sculptor. Well, I did theater, but the university I went to requires, like, when you major in creative arts, they require you to do all 3 branches of creative arts, which is theater, music, and visual arts. Even if you specialize in one of them, you still have to do all 3 for at least 2 years. So I had 2 years of, sculpting classes, and I learned how to manage a studio. I learned how to work safely with materials. I learned all of this stuff at a very reputable university. And so when I decided I wanted to get into sculpting, it was very easy for me because I had the classical training, of course, but also I had the business background of having worked in finance. So I set it up as an entire business. I was like, how can obviously I want to sculpt. I want to feel joy in, my work, but I also want to make money. So I set it up as a business. There's obviously marketing, there is sales, there is all the funnels that a business requires is product development, all of that. I was like, where can I represent this in my business indicators? So in order to sculpt, I think that obviously anyone can do art. If you want to make it big, you have to have a plan. You have to have like vision. What do you actually want out of it? And then go in, create, market properly, and give each side of the business adequate time to grow, I think is my advice to sculpt it. Now, for the materials, everyone sculpts differently. Some people sculpt where they just use found materials. Some people sculpt, like the way I sculpt, it's not very expensive. I use building materials, the same materials you use to build your house. You can go to any Home Depot and buy what I use for my art, you know? So I use plaster on canvas. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. So I use plaster on canvas for my art. So my art is actually quite accessible. It's not the most expensive thing in the world to do it all. So, yeah, pretty cheap.
Well, she has her prices, and you guys can see the links in the description. How did you learn how to price stuff? Because there's so many artists who graduate every semester, but minority aren't able to feed themselves and have to do something else. And we know you had the fashion background, and you've done so much now where it's like, hey, you get to live your dream. But how did you learn how to price that where it's like, this is what I'm worth?
So pricing for me, there's so many ways to price art. I just decided how much is my hourly rate worth? So I log how many hours I put into each piece. And then not only do I do that, but I also factor in the price of the materials that go into it, as well as my overhead. So accommodation for my studio, transportation, all of that stuff, communication, time spent doing admin work. It's all factored into it. And then I basically break all of that down into how much is this artwork worth. Now, I have a lot of art that I have sold that is not on my website at all. I think the ones on my website are the ones that I have sold more recently. But a lot of my work, I also structured my business very differently. The ones I put on my website are much cheaper than commissions. And when I was going in, I knew that commission was going to be the bread and butter of my business. If someone looks at my art and says, hey, I want your work, it's usually because they understand the value of my work. And, there's more, it's like having a customized suit versus getting something off the rack. So a lot of my customized work, I put, more effort into, and I put more like marketing efforts into, because I knew that was going to be 80% of my revenue. And most of that is not on my website, but I price those adequately as well. I put the marketing efforts money into it. I put my, time spent just trying to actually get the leads for that factored into the price as well. So if you, yes.
I want for when people come rent, I've seen this at one Airbnb where you could hit the QR code and you could order the art. I was looking for your QR code. Like,
I am so sad. I am so sad that I didn't have that. And the reason I say that is because usually we have in that Airbnb, we have revolving art. And I had just had a cycle where one artist picked up all their art, and the other one that was supposed to bring a bunch of art did not bring it. And so I didn't even bother printing anything. I just put my own artwork in there and got out of the country. So usually we have that. Yeah.
You got out right on time with the craziness that's happened here, that's happening here, with, it's just nuts. And America without immigrants isn't America. So if everybody, was to run away, we'd have people, please, please, please. And it's not just the people cleaning the yards, people. We got people at hospitals, we got artists, we got venture capitalists, who, that's what this place is good for, is making money. With your clothing, when you were doing clothing and styling people, was that because you make clothing as well, or is that because you have friends and you know just what looks good on people? So I saw your cute outfit with your name on it. Everything I have is from Africa or custom. Like this is from Rwanda. This is from the Maasai in Kenya that they made, and it has my name in it somewhere on here. My name is in it if I flip it. Like, how do you do your style? Because that's the part that I was like, I love it. Like, we're gonna be friends.
Hello, everyone. Join us on an exciting journey with Explore the World Cameroon. London and Sydney go take you explore Cameroon, the heart of Africa. Experience the vibrant culture, nature, and traditions from Yaoundé market to rainforest adventures. Every page now new discovery. Join the Cameroonian food, music, and wildlife with our explorers. This book na true celebration of Cameroon spirit. Get your copy now. Available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and through your library and bookstores. They are in Grams Park. Don't miss this adventure.
So I have always like I grew up with a very fashionable mom. My mom was like, you know how in the neighborhood there's always I don't know if it's like that here, but in Nigeria, in the neighborhood, there's always one family where everyone is like, oh my God, we wonder what they're gonna wear today. That was my family. So we always put a lot of effort into getting like putting that shit on, like the kids say. So when I got into university, I've always been very entrepreneurial. I've always wanted to have jobs. At the time, my dad was a stockbroker, and he would, have me do like little clerk jobs for his friends over the summer and things like that. While I was working in one of his friend's stockbroking firm, I realized that if I offer for the people in there, like the people who work there, they work so much that they don't have time to make fashionable clothes. But everything I wore, even though I was a kid, I was a teenager at the time, everything I wore, they were like, oh, that is nice. Where did you get that? But it was just like, I bought the fabric, I gave a random tailor the fabric, I told him what I wanted. So then I started telling people, hey, I'll make something like that for you. So I started, getting orders. I'll take their measurements, take it to my tailor, slap my label on it, send it back, and I started making money. And I realized, oh my God, there's money in fashion. And very quickly, I got into the fashion industry that way because I started just meeting people. People will introduce me to their friend introduced me to someone else. And then I got a lucky break. The person who at the time was like the #1 stylist in the country, she noticed something I had made, and she was like, she just followed me on Instagram. As soon as I saw, this was very early days of Instagram, like back when it first started. So there was no ego at the time. Big accounts were following small accounts, and even big accounts then was just like a couple thousand. It wasn't like now where you have millions of followers, So she followed my account. Of course, I knew who she was. And I was like, oh my goodness. I got into her DMs and I asked her for a job. And she was like, absolutely, come to my office in 2 days. I went to her office. She was in the middle of a shoot. And the Nigerian head rap, they call it 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐿. Yeah. As soon as I thought I was going in for an interview. I got there, she was in the middle of a shoot, and she said, hey, do you know how to tie 𝐃𝐿𝐴? I was like, absolutely. And she tossed it to me. I got to work right away, and I worked with her till I left Nigeria, because even when I stopped working with her, she retained me as a consultant. So she had like 2 big jobs on the same day. She would give one to me, and we just worked very well together. And because I worked with her, she at the time was like the #1 stylist. She was working with all the celebrities, all the artists, all the people. I got to know everyone in the industry within 6 months, just being around her. So, of course, I got to know all these people. She loved me a lot. She talked me up. She was always the kind of person who, she pulled people up with her. So when I, graduated from college, I told her, I want to start my own thing. And she was like, you have my blessing. Like, but can we also just keep working together? Because, my business so well. If I have stuff I cannot do, like, I would like to, have you do it. I'll pay you some of the money to still be my job. And I was like, absolutely. And working with her just put me in a different caliber for someone who had just started. And I think that is working with her made me realize that even if you're just started, there's no problem with reaching to the very top and starting there. Like, find the best of the best and start there. The worst they can do is say no, and you still start very close to it. Working with her made me realize that just because I was a newbie didn't mean I had to very just start saying, hey, I know you're an aspiring artist. Can you please let me put my clothes on you? Working with her made me realize that, you can be you and be at the very top and just learn from the people right there. And that's where you would stay, which is what empowered me to, of course, move here and say, what's the highest paying job I can get? Google. Okay, how do I get into Google? Working with her set that foundation for me of just reaching to desire top from the very beginning. So, of course, I started my own thing after a couple years of working with her, and I started focusing less on, doing one-off jobs and working with companies. I started, working with, I started trying to figure out my business. Like, how can I have a job that's consistent fashion-wise and would pay me for months? So I started getting into, TV shows. I started getting into movie productions. I started getting into like reality stuff as well, where it's one job but it's consistent income. So that's how I got into fashion work.
So I love it. Everything is not taking no, asking, being humble, not saying I know everything. I will work with you. I'll work, for you. Can you tell the people? One, I want to know, what is the community give back that you're doing or that you would like to do in the future, and how the community can get involved with that and maybe help, because with unity we all win. And after that, I want to know, have you started, writing out your book, your story of your life?
So you starting you say that because I want to write a book so bad, but I am also, I think, a little scared of myself because I am also very, like most creatives, I have ADHD. I'm just like, what is actually piquing my interest in right in this moment? And I think this is the one area of my life where I'm standing in my own way, where I know I have a wonderful story, but the story, of course, is still unfolding. And I'm just like, what if I get tired of writing a book, but I already have a signed deal? What do I do?
No, no, no. What if we don't get another second? And we need to write our book so our children know, so we tell our stories and we don't have other people talking, all type of stories. And your mother, no, she wrote it down in a book, what she wanted me to do, right? And you just don't have to have one book. You can be a series. So don't worry, because you're still so young, that you can have a series of books and you don't have to capture it all. Those days might be gone anyway, because all of us have ADHD. Some of it is in remission because of our high verbal fluency. But don't worry about that. But putting it down,
I need to hang out more with you.
come on.
I need to hang out with you. Put me on. But yeah, you had asked the question before you had said the book. What was it?
The community give back that you're doing, or one that you would like to do in the future, and if the community can help you with that, depending on what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think one of my great passions when it comes to giving back is Black women. Not just Black women, but Black women who are builders. Black women have always been, historically, it's proven, Black women have always been the root of most things that are important. However, Black women are also the most overlooked because society teaches us to just, keep things quiet, to not overhype yourself. Society teaches us to, just take things in stride. But I find that the data is out there. When it comes to venture capital, last year alone, just in the US, $631 billion was spent investing in companies, and only 1% of that went to Black women companies. And when I first heard the data, I was like, could it be that maybe there is no, is it a shortage of builders? It's not like we're not giving them the money, they're just not building. So I can't give the money to someone who's not building. But then I found out that people are actually building. People are building. People just don't get the money. People think we can't handle big things. People think we're incapable. There are all these stereotypes that affect us. So my life's mission when it comes to giving back is putting my money in places where it matters the most. It's why I started the fund, which is just, I'm not afraid to be the first check for a Black female founder. I'm not afraid to be like, hey, I believe in you. Here's $50,000 to build your dream. I'm not afraid to do that. And I am not afraid to call on my community to do that with me. And the passion I carry also draws people into that orbit. And because of that, of course, we've been able to give $5 million to Black women-led companies to build their dreams. Now, that's, on the venture capital side. On the tech side, I haven't done a lot of giving back because I did not feel called and I didn't feel capable of doing that. It, for me, was something that it was a means to an end. It was a means to keep my income where it was. Now, when it comes to arts, I am very passionate about Black women still. So what I do is I work with the K through 8 school system. And every summer I host 2 students in my studio. They get to sit with me and I teach them how to sculpt from beginning to end. They do 8 weeks with me spread over the school year and then just 2 weeks in the summer. And what they do is they, come into my studio. It's also, it counts as credits for them for schoolwork. So they come into my studio, they sit there, and I just, from the very beginning, I take them shopping for art materials and we sculpt. I actually have a video where I'm going to post of my first round of students that I worked with. These are teenagers. These are young Black kids from Oakland who have, never envisioned a life in which arts can be a very viable, well-paying business. So it's been very interesting. And during the course of, them working with me, of course, I would have a division. So I'll bring them with me. And I think it's important. It's very hard to be what you can see. It's very, very hard to understand that you can make, $1 billion if you've never met someone who has made $1 billion. It can seem unachievable. So for me, on that front, it's just showing people who are still in their formative years that it's possible to be an artist and be a successful one financially and, of course, like having your work out there. So how people can fit into that is if you have a school or if you have access to a school that's in a predominantly Black neighborhood, you can talk about this program with them and see if they would be willing to work with me or other artists who are in my community to give kids credit for being in the studio with an artist and learning the business. And I would love to expand this. I've obviously only worked with one school. I've only done 2 years with them, but I would love to expand this to other schools, to other communities. And that's a way that it feels good for me to give back as well. So that's what the community outreach of my life part looks like.
I'm selfish, y'all. So before we get off this, I'm going to tell her, please send me what your requirements are for that. Because from Oakland to South Florida and beyond, I know people who will say, I want her. And so we need to know what that will take to get you there. My kids are homeschooled, but they're going back to school and they just happen to be going to a private Black school in Palm Beach County that we never knew existed. It's in an old mall. And it's like, they're the people who bought it from another couple who weren't Black. Their kids have gone to Harvard, NY, Georgetown, I believe. And so they know something about education, but they are also Jamaican and Nigerian. And I tell people, man, there's just certain people that know how to get it done. Go learn from those people. You can't learn how to get fit from people who are fat. You can't learn how to make money from people who are broke. I don't want to give them too much because, one, I want to be selfish. And I want you to put some stuff on your YouTube as well. I want Joe Rogan to have something to talk about when he discovers, what you do and how you do it, and others. But can you let the people know if they wanted to be able to connect, and if you do any mentorship, consulting, coaching, what are the best ways so people don't just bother you in DMs and say, hi, hi, beautiful. Hi, which ways can they connect with you?
Well, the best ways to connect with me is everyone is on social media these days. And I respond to every single DM I receive. I have my art page, which is at 𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐿.Cole, that's COLE.art. And Sade is spelled like the artist, is SADE.COLE.art. That's my Instagram. I also I have a link on my website, which is www.SadeColeArt.com. That's SadeColeArt.com. It comes straight into my inbox, and I open my inbox every single day. So I see, when people write me, I see it. My DMs are always open, and in order to work with me specifically for this program, I work through the school. And the reason why I work through the school is because I do believe that while kids should learn stuff, not all learning works in a classroom. And I don't want a situation where I think a kid is putting in a lot of work, a lot of effort, and they're not seeing the benefits when it comes to their education. I want this to be something that could go on their college application as an experience they've had backed by their school. I want it to have impact beyond what they see. I want it to have impact in their actual lives as they move forward. So I work through schools typically, and the school has to sign a contract with me. And then basically the students are incentivized to, vibe. There's only 2 spots open. So who wants it bad enough to want to work with me? Do you have an interest in art? Do you have a portfolio? Have you worked, have you drawn anything? It doesn't have to be perfect, but I like to see a proven interest in the business if I put my foot forward. And usually the schools handle that part. So the schools, we have a system where we work together great. And they're able to, select the best students for the program.
I love it. You won't know. I have a young artist since kindergarten, 1st grade. She's won contests, not even trying. And so I love this type of game because I want a gallery for her. I always say I want to build it in Africa because y'all can love this. Y'all can have this. I love yeah. But you guys, I could go on for days, and we can do part 2s. And one day, I'm telling you, God willing, we'll be face to face, and you'll see the energy because you guys know I'm partly crazy. And I watched her enough for her Instagram. She is too behind the scenes when that music isn't playing. The stuff that she's saying, oh yeah, we like the same things. We like the same things. We get down the same way. So I dig it. And I'm all for Black women as well. I have 2 daughters, LondonandCity.com. My wife, I'm down for the ladies. It's a woman's world. And we all can work together and, make something happen. So as your woman king, you guys have gotten the game. I want you to go over to the YouTube. I know most of you are listening on Podbean and Apple, but go over to YouTube, give it some love. You can comment, you can like, but most importantly, no matter what you do, wherever you're listening in the world, please share this game with somebody. We'll have more to come, but this will change somebody's life. You guys be blessed. Make sure to download 𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐿.AI. Check the descriptions for all the links for all of us. Be blessed.
Are you tired of the rat race in America? Are you ready to visit the motherland to relax and rejuvenate? Are you ready to explore all that Africa has to offer? Then check out the brand new Diversified Game Academy course, Prepare for My First Trip to Africa. Are you worried about being able to afford the trip? We got you. We will show you how to travel either on a budget or as a baller. Learn how to stretch the value of the USD. Did you know that 100 United States dollars is worth over 1,000 South African rand or 10,000 Kenyan shillings or 54,250 West African CFA? Are you worried about taking your kids? Get the game from Kellen 𝐃𝐨𝐴, a bona fide world traveler, having traveled to almost 20 countries, several of those in Africa. Get the game on taking your kids on their first trips. Learn how to find the best tickets, get the visas, and plan your own adventures in Africa. Don't let Eddie Murphy have all the fun. Plan your own coming to Africa trip starring you, produced by you, and featuring you. If you are ready for a life-changing experience, sign up for our course today, Diversified Game Academy. Get prepared and purchase at diversifiedgame.com.